Okay, Wendy, we're live. We are now recording.
Excellent.
So do you want me to call you by your full name or is it just Wendy?
Well, people call me by Wendy or Wendy Rose.
Okay, so
I
you
answer to all of it. Sometimes Rosie. Whatever you feel is appropriate.
all right, well you just said it, Wendy Rose. So there we go.
Hmm.
You've just announced your full name. So that's how I know you anyway, is Wendy Rose.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so I'm really grateful. I want to start by saying thank you for making the time because you're on the other side of the Atlantic. You're in
Yeah.
East Coast,
Yeah. I'm in Gloucester, Massachusetts, on the other side of the pond.
and it's a beautiful place. I've been there a handful of times. That's how we met.
Hmm.
It's really beautiful there. So, are you in the same studio that I first saw you?
No, I've moved from Manchester by the Sea to Magnolia now, which is about 5 minutes away after COVID. Um, a lot of things shifted and my phase didn't come in until July. So from like February to July, I couldn't really practice. So
Mm,
then once July came, I moved into a new place in Magnolia. My cousin has a salon there and she happened to have a beautiful space for me. So I just surrendered my space and just went for it. And I've been there ever since. So it's worked out pretty
amazing.
nicely.
And
Yeah.
it all sounds very cryptic. So anyone that's listening to this finds this conversation. Your studio is, what I recall, you had a red room and a blue room.
Oh yeah, that's right. In Manchester.
It was
Yeah,
like,
I had two different
yeah,
rooms. That's right. Yeah.
it was like the Matrix. That's what I thought when I walked in
Yeah.
there. It's like the red room. Do we want to choose the red room or the blue room? I think I was in the red room. I can't. I'm
You were in
sure.
both.
Oh,
You
was
you came
I?
in a few times, so we definitely
Oh,
mixed it up. I just
okay.
sort of felt people out when they came in, which room I would go into. One room was a little brighter than the other. Sometimes people need, you know, a space that's a little bit darker so they can go inward a little bit more.
Okay, so look, let's just get it in. So, let's get straight in. What is it? We're talking about studio and it all sounds cryptic. What do you do? Why was I in your studio?
Yeah, you came in because you wanted some body work and you were curious. And I've been a massage therapist since 1999 professionally, and I've done energy healing since 1987.
There we go.
So you found me one way or another. I
Uh,
don't know if you just saw my sign walking through
mm,
Manchester by the Sea or how it was, how it came to be, but it was definitely meant to be, that's for sure.
it was. I'll tell you how. It wasn't by chance. It was I I'd been over visiting Rob. We both know who Rob is.
Hmm.
So hi Rob, you'll probably listen to this. So Rob was studying over near you.
Hmm.
And I'd been over visiting and I'd been over a handful of times at that point. And normally for me, when I've done a long flight, um, sometimes I just like to ground into the space that I'm in, wherever I'm going, anywhere in the world. And I had been at that point using massage, traditional and alternative, out of the box sort of body healing, if you want to call it that,
Hmm.
for quite some time. So I was not, I was kind of aware of all of the different modalities and I recognized what worked for me, what I needed. So I looked at, naturally, I felt like I needed something. I just felt like I really need a good massage. So
Hmm.
I looked online at the local area of what was on offer, and
Hmm.
you just popped out of a mix of lots and lots of different options, and I intuitively just knew it was you. So I got in touch, and then I think it was a couple of days later or whatever, we arranged a time, and I came and visited your studio. That's how I recall it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, I remember the day that you found your way up the stairs and you walked in and I'm like, wow, who's this rock star from British, from Great Britain, wherever. But I was like, oh, this will be interesting. We'll see, what this guy's story is. And yeah, it's just fun. I love to see who make their way to me because I've always said since the get-go, the massage is a bonus for the work I do.
Mm,
Since I was a young child, I always had an interest in really caring for people, and I always had a real deep sense of knowingness and just kind of knowing people deeply without really understanding that. I just have always had a very deep connection with more than just the physical body,
yeah,
with the being that resides in this beautiful temple body. So
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
yeah, it was great to meet you, and here we are today.
And
Yeah,
that was quite a while ago. It was pre-COVID. I was like, that must have been because we're in 2026. I mean, that was like 8 years ago or something. We've stayed in touch.
yeah.
And because I recognized, I identified straight away. It's no coincidence that you popped out. It just I just my radar was on. I just knew he was the right person I needed to connect to on that trip, and I wasn't wrong. And we can go into your method of how you do things, but I remember talking to you after we did the treatment, and it was we got into quite a deep and meaningful spiritual conversation about, what work you do outside of that space and your history and your life, and you was asking me questions, and we was just, sharing sort of um journeys, and where we'd been and where we was at, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of similarities, a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities, so yeah, you struck me as someone who'd had a journey, man.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah, yeah,
just I've done a lot of different jobs in my lifetime, but my family always said, you know, uh, we know where your skill set is and might be time to change it up a little. And I happened to have been down in DC visiting my sister. She was getting her doctorate in global health and development, and met a gentleman who was teaching massage. And I was working at a corporation as an event coordinator up in Boston. And I said, yeah, I could feel and sense things were changing on in the corporate world. And I thought she had two little babies. So I thought, you know what? I'll go check it out. And that was sort of the beginning of the body work excursion, although I had studied at the Berkeley Psychic Institute back in the 80s out in Berkeley, California. So I had already sort of ventured into wellness from a different perspective at a young age.
yeah.
I was around 18, I think. So,
Hmm.
but then I got caught up in corporate life and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah,
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 once I left the corporate world and got back into that, I knew right then and there that I really I had a skill without being trained in it.
yeah,
But then
yeah,
I went professionally and went to school and had my training. And from there, I've kind of developed my own work.
yeah, your own methodology.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah,
under the umbrella of wellness, there's so many things that one can get involved in. And I didn't really get involved in it to be, a famous person or anything like that. I just got involved because I sincerely care for people, and I wanted to help people marry the physical body with the spiritual body. I wanted them to feel engaged with being tuned in to be able to care for themselves, like
mm,
we have a lot of medicine within, but people are always looking outside of themselves. And it's a good idea to sit and listen and feel your own body, and have conversations like we've always had in the past,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. We've stayed
yeah,
in touch, and as we've stayed in touch, we've learned more about each other, and it helps community, and in our case, our world community.
yeah, because
So
it extends far greater, as we was talking about pre-pressing record, the ripple effect of connecting to like-minded people, and how that has a ripple effect,
yeah. And you were
um
telling me about your book back then when you were starting to gather information, and I was so excited about that. And here you
yeah,
are, and it's blooming all into fruition now. And
Yeah, yeah,
We,
yeah. I
we
write,
chatted a lot about that.
yeah, we did. Now I write about you actually in the book because it's such a big part of my journey. Is what you just said about realigning, getting into the natural rhythm of your body, because
Hmm.
I was the same. I was looking outside of myself to try and, oh, that will fix me. This will fix me. If only I had this amount of money, then I'll feel complete. If only I
Yeah.
can just, oh, if I can just get to this place in my life, then I will feel peace, that inner peace.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Right on, brother. Yep. We've
yes,
all done it.
I
I mean, at least
know.
we're trying, It's good to get out there and expose yourself and learn some new tools for sure. There's no
Yeah.
doubt, but the best tool is really looking inside yourself because we all have some special magic to offer for sure. And then
Yeah,
we can
absolutely.
integrate all that stuff that we've learned, We
Yeah,
can get that toolbox out of all the things that we've experienced and then integrate that into
yeah,
whatever our passion is.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. When I first walked into your studio, because it's such a beautiful setting, where it is. I watched the film Manchester by Sea. There's a film, isn't
Yeah,
there?
yeah, yeah,
And
there is.
and
Yeah.
there's a lot of movie. I remember you saying there's a lot of the film industry does a lot of work out that way, don't they?
Oh
On
yeah,
these.
and Cape Ann, of course, The Perfect Storm. I come from a family of fishermen, but The Perfect Storm was filmed there. It was about some kids my sisters went to school with.
Yeah,
They were all fishermen, but Coda isn't, if you haven't seen Coda
I
already,
have.
Coda is a
Mm,
great movie. I mean,
yeah,
there's so many
yeah,
grown-ups. There's a lot of, I mean, we've
yeah.
got the set already made.
It's
So the
stunning.
side effect of that is it's kind of a small place, a small island. So it's become very popular. We're known now. So it's
Yeah,
not, an
yeah.
unknown place. It's growing by leaps and bounds.
I must say, I love. It's my opinion, but I prefer that sort of up a bit to New York State. I prefer Boston to New York. I don't know
Mm.
why.
Well,
This.
they're both beautiful. My daughter was living in Brooklyn for a while. Now she's in South Philly, but um, it has a different vibe.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
I
yeah,
go into New York, I'm like, oh gosh, because it feels like I entered into this realm of this like beehive that someone whacked with a bat because it's like, it's like so intense. And Boston's definitely intense too, but the more north you go, it's different. And the closer you come to the Atlantic Ocean, it's just a totally different vibe. And one of
yeah,
the things we're known for in Gloucester, we're sea level and we actually have a football field below sea level. I think it's the only one in the world, but it's quite nice. I was just in Costa Rica and we had to drive 3-4 hours just to get to the beach from when we were. And here in Gloucester, I'm like, gosh, I'm just a mile from the beach. So
Oh, you're lucky. It's
but yeah,
beautiful.
it's a
Yeah,
beautiful place where we live for sure. I'm
it's
very grateful.
gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I've just come off the beach actually. I've just been for a walk along the beach. I've just come
Oh,
back.
nice.
But so we are lucky. We're very blessed. But it's my choice to move and live somewhere by the coast because it's so healing. I just get so much from it.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
water's emotion, and the ocean never refuses a river.
Hey, so when I first walked into your studio, like I was struck by the whole. It just felt to me there was something quite magical about it. There's an energy in there, not just coming from you, but the space you were holding. And I don't know why, but I thought there was some sort of I thought you was like there was some sort of Native American connection or some sort of indigenous vibe going on from you that you emitted. But you're I mean quite a few
I do
generations.
have a little indigenous, the Micmac.
Oh, do
I
you?
I drove my grandmother crazy her whole life. I always asked, "Oh, are we Micmac? I mean, do we have any Native American?" Because I always had visions of the Indians walking down in the woods in the white birch, and I spent a lot of time in the woods in the West Gloucester woods. And she said,
Mm,
"No, we're not Indian. We're not." And then just before she passed, she actually said, "Yes, from Booth Bay Harbor, Maine, north, the Micmac tribe, distant relatives, but still there was just that thread." And for
yeah,
some reason, since I was very young, I held on to that thread because it was special to me. I was always curious. I loved weaving and the arts and different things, and I was always interested in Native American arts and
Yeah.
folklore and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
got that
just a little
vibe.
bit,
Yeah, I got that
good
vibe, and then
measure.
I got that vibe, and you've got that obvious, which I love as well. That we're all like, for someone like me anyway, to come into that accent you've got, it's a real sort of like East Coast accent. It's great, man. But you must have thought the same about me when you met this Londoner, this guy
Oh
from,
yeah. Oh yeah, you walked in pretty wild. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be interesting, you know. I've worked
yeah,
with a lot of musicians around the world, so I really like working with everyone, but it's super great to work with people that are out performing for thousands of people. And it's just nice to know that you're taking care of people that are meeting the masses, you know. So,
yeah, yeah.
and I
Okay,
knew in the work you were doing, we talked a little bit of Australia and some other places you had ventured.
yeah.
Um, but I knew you were doing your own work too, one person at a time, and you were
Mm.
making big impacts. So it was definitely a good connection for sure.
Yeah, it was, and thank you. And like it was just getting into back to what I was saying about why I came to see you and how I know you, I just really identify that for me it's quite a necessary part of my well-being to to do my housekeeping of my body, because I'm walking around in my this body, this vessel that I'm residing in for this this life that I'm
Yeah.
having, so I really do recognize, I have done for years now, that it's really vital that I keep my body in check, not just my mind, it's
hmm
it's that. How do you see it? How do you see that?
Well, everybody comes in with their aches and pains. Everybody's sort of at the end of their rope, and they're hopeful that I'll be able to do some magic, but I always tell people the massage is a bonus, and what goes on here is beyond the physical realm. In fact, in any given room, we're only really seeing with our naked eye about 8% of what's really going on, which
Mm.
means like 82% is unseen, or rather 92%. I'm not a math person, so the majority is unseen. It's felt,
Yeah, yeah,
and so I always feel like that feeling sense is really where the magic is. And I am a very open being. So even though my hands are my eyes, and I'm doing the work that I love to do, I always feel like there's just so much more flowing through me. And
yeah,
we're connecting on a different level. It's not just two physical human bodies. It's like we're all one, really. We're really not separate. So once we, get into this intimate setting, the energy just flows. And, sometimes stories come up, and I just try to be open and receptive to what flows when I start working on the body. And it's just amazing at the different feelings that arise, and we're able to process more when we're not just paying attention to the physical realm, because remember, we've got the mental realm, the spiritual realm, the etheric realm, the spiritual. I think that there's five, but there's so much more than just the physical body that we're dealing with, you know I love kirtan, and I always say when I'm in kirtan that it's not that the music doesn't address my physical body, but I feel like what it does is it highlights my spirit body, and it just brings that level of awareness and consciousness up a notch. It's
what
incredible, and the same with massage, really.
yeah, what did you just call it? Cat.
Kirtan is like chant and response music. Have you
I
ever
didn't
heard of?
I didn't actually know that. So I was going to say, for anyone listening, if they're not sure what is it, but I'm actually
It's
not sure
Oh,
what it.
kirtan. Probably you've heard of Krishna Das or
Oh no,
Snatankar or
I know what it is. Now
oh, okay.
I know what it is, but I'd not heard that term before associated to it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's
Um,
just chant and response music. It's
yeah.
practice to many people all over the planet. But I've enjoyed it over the past 20 years because for me, it just feels like it really highlights something more than just the temple, than just the physical body. It
Yeah,
just makes
so
me lit. I just love it.
yeah, so for me, what's come up for me, what I associate with that is I'm thinking about vibrations. like
Exactly.
a frequency. So it's
Yep.
like when you sing, anyone listening, if you sing or if you shout or if you know, there's so many
Hmm.
different ways of creating a vibration in our bodies.
Hmm.
You know, if you're holding on to a lot of stress in your nervous system, your body's going to be vibrating, but it's going to be very different to if you're in a choir singing in harmony to some beautiful harmonics. It's going to be a very
Right. So
different.
it's either poison, right, or it's medicine.
There we
What
go.
we're thinking, what
Yeah.
we're, what we're saying, and the intonations as it comes out, it all matters.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
all matters. So in that, like our intentions of whatever our intentions are, they make their way into everything we do, into our cooking. Remember the book Like Water for Chocolate?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
remember that? It's a great movie too. But our intentions, our feelings, our emotions really go into everything that we
Yeah,
do.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
them intentions. It's like the energy for which we do stuff, the spirit for which we do things has a, it's almost like it comes back, right? So if you're putting out good stuff, you're going to get good stuff back.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. I always thought for me, what goes around comes around, but I always thought as a child, I was raised a certain faith, but I always thought walking in the woods, I don't know, this wagon wheel always came to me as a child, and the outside of the wagon wheel smooth, and it has this motion to it. And the inside it has all these spokes, and then it has the core, sort of like the hubcap in the middle. And
Mm,
to me, the wagon wheel represented my sort of spirituality. Every spoke represents a different path, a different means to get to that center core, which for me is always just deep love, just
yeah,
unconditional love. So I think in the work that we do, whatever we bring to the table, if it has that pure sense of love, that deep yearning to care and to nurture, um, it it comes off, in a positive way. Plus, if you really love what you do, like you and I, we love what we do. We're fortunate. We're so fortunate and blessed to really, really love what we do and want to show up at work. We get excited to
yeah,
wake up and go to work. That's not for everybody in the world, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So it's nice that we're able to share and to sit down and have some conversation eye to eye and not just on our cell phones going back and forth, which, as you know, I just traveled out of the country and everybody's on their phones looking down. I just,
mm,
it's tricky, but I still love to connect with people,
same,
yeah.
same. I really do. I know. I've got a love-hate relationship with technology
Yeah,
because like we
me
wouldn't
too.
we wouldn't be in contact. We wouldn't be recording this, you know. So
Exactly.
there's many pluses and good things that can come from it. But it's for me, I think we're very similar. You know, um it doesn't own me. I'm not identified by it. I don't live within it. You know, I can separate, I can switch off, I can put it down. So
Well, the thing is we grew up without it. For the kids today that grew up with it in their hands since birth, more or less, that's a different story. But you and I, we grew up without technology,
yeah,
and we have that memory, and we
yeah,
hold that near and dear. So
yeah,
that's a gift.
yeah,
For the kids growing up today, they didn't have that.
yeah,
They didn't
yeah,
have that memory when there was no technology. So it's a tricky world out there. So we'll see where it takes us. But yeah, it's definitely fun. It's great I do Zoom I study this other type of energy healing called vortex healing,
Oh, what?
vortexhealing.org. It's a Merlin lineage, and almost all the classes are on Zoom now around the world. And of course, I've studied Reiki and many other modalities of healing.
Yeah,
And fortunately, because of technology, it's helped to keep people connected.
it has, no doubt, no doubt. It's just getting the best from it. You know, take what you need, leave the rest, as they say.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
when you just prompted me because you just reeled off a couple of things there, the modalities, right? And I remember reading your description. I think that was from your website. Have you still got that original website?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll put a link in. Anyone is curious and they want to get in contact with you or just stalk you by looking at your
Oh, I
website.
don't spend a lot of time on the computer, so
No,
they'll have
but
to
yeah,
call me directly or text me because I
yeah.
don't answer emails very good.
But I remember reading on your website, definitely, and that's what sort of brought me in because I always see websites as like a little shop window. It's like if you're sort of window shopping, and
Mhm.
I'm not going to go into shop unless I see something that I want to, that draws me in, right? And there was a few buzzwords, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember what they are specifically, but yeah, there was enough in there for me to connect to want to come and have a session with you.
Mhm.
And I remember I knew it wasn't going to be the moment I landed in the studio, I knew it wasn't going to be a conventional, traditional experience.
Never is.
I know,
And it's
right?
never the same.
And it was so, I feel like mother heart is a good word to use.
Hmm.
Two words that, it's one word in my opinion. Mother heart. You've got a mother heart.
Mm.
Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I,
Yeah, for sure.
I felt that, I felt really safe and um, the moment I was in there, I just felt like held in the space. You're very good at what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I lost my mom at a young age. I had just turned 20 and she was just 48. And I grew up in a big family and I had a lot of women around me. I had seven great aunts that were still alive. Actually, I had more than that, but the mother energy runs deep in my family. I'm the youngest of six. I have four older sisters and an older brother, but we all sort of have kept that piece of my mom in different ways. And for me, I've always just been a bit of a love bug, and I've always valued both mother and father, but I've always valued um, that mother energy, especially Gaia. Let's just start with
Yeah.
Gaia and the planet. And I've always felt a great connection with the planet. So, yeah, you just open yourself up to that mother energy. And I've always said, isn't it funny how we cradle and rock babies when they're little and children, but when people get older, there really isn't a lot of that. Maybe they're rocking themselves in a chair, but
Or or
nobody's
or
really
it,
rocking themselves anymore. So
or
I've lately been ending my sessions with rocking, and
yeah,
it's really been beautiful. It's been really
yeah,
nice to see people just kind of come out of the space. Just they don't. I think you said the same thing. I don't know what that was exactly, but
yeah, yeah,
I'd like to know a little bit more of what that was in there because it definitely wasn't just massage, but it's just love.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Just pure giving of my heart and um just hoping really to help people to tune into themselves because when you can create a safe environment for people, it allows them to sort of enter into the realm of healing themselves. And that's when the true healing happens, is
Mhm.
when people take that time to tune into themselves and to listen and to feel. And that feeling sense is valuable and it's the best medicine out there, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And the side effects aren't so bad either.
yeah, absolutely. I always, what I always used is the term stillness. It's just
Yeah.
we've got to find stillness. I have to find stillness. And I never really knew what that was like. I found it really hard to be in my own skin. It was really uncomfortable to be
Yeah.
in my own skin. So I was always looking to not be in my head, to not be in my body. How can I escape and avoid and project myself to be somewhere else that's not here, right now with me, right here.
Yeah.
It's quite a hard task to do.
And I agree. I had a lot of trauma in my life and had a very colorful life. And people are amazed that I can settle down in a massage because when I'm not in that environment, I'm generally all over the place. I'm juggling a lot of things, and people are like, "That's what you do? Wow!" Because you're like so busy. I run around a lot, and it's really miraculous when I go into that space. And I'll tell you why. What happens is when I go into that healing sanctuary, it's not just about me anymore.
Yeah.
When it's about me, it's a different story. I'm still working on all that stuff. I could actually practice more of what I preach. Like any doctor or therapist that I work on, we could all practice more of what we preach and what we do
Mm.
in our practice. But we're all working it. We're all doing the best that we can. And but when I'm in that space, I feel like I surrender to the grace of whatever that particular body that's booked a table for one, whatever's going on with them. And it's always different, even with clients that come in on a regular basis. Every session is different because every time they come in, the energy is different. Like you said earlier, the energy and the vibration. So it's
Mm.
never really the same, ever. We
Yeah.
connect with the same stories, but the energy is always different, and whatever transpires in that session is always different.
Yeah. Ebbs and flows. It's transient.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember you asked me about, I think I was sharing a story about my kids not sure what they wanted to do in life, and I gave you that story about that fishing,
Oh,
baiting the hook,
can
that whole
you,
thing.
yeah, can you please, just for anyone listening, it's a lovely metaphor. It's a lovely story.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, one of my kids just wasn't really entirely sure what they wanted to do. They had some ideas, and I just said, just go out and get yourself some good bait and a good hook and a good fishing line and cast that line into the sea of life and just sort of feel as it moves with the ebb and flow of life. Just like if you were out there literally fishing. And when you feel that pull, that tug, in front of you fishermen out there, you know what I'm talking about. But maybe it's a job, maybe it's a girlfriend, maybe it's a spirituality, whatever it is, that feel, that tug, that pull. It's pretty awesome. And I just said to my child, just pause when you feel that tug for whatever it is. Because he had asked me, what religion. I I'm like the kid from the Life of Pi. I'm curious about everything. He's like, what religion am I? Because you're this and dad's this and I said, hey, that's up to you. So that's why I kind of came up with this theory, and I may have heard it over the years. But anyway, I said, when you get that tug, that pull, just pause for a minute and feel it and just let it pull you. And then you start to reel it in until you get it up close and personal. And then if you're a fisherman, is it a keeper or isn't it a keeper? Right? You got to measure it. You got to,
Yeah.
do everything you got to do. If it's a keeper, you bring it in, and whatever it is in life, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a job, faith, whatever it may be, pull it in and bring it in close and get real intimate with you. If it isn't a keeper, you throw it back in. And I told my child, I said, just keep fishing.
Yeah.
Just keep fishing. Keep getting some good bait. Keep baiting that hook and keep casting that line into the sea of life. Because I know elders that I work on in their 80s and 90s that still don't know what they want to do in life. So that's
Mm.
not, I mean, that's just such a huge question,
Yeah.
and I just encouraged my child to just keep fishing and
Yeah.
enjoy fishing, enjoy exploring.
Yeah.
But really, my main thing is what I wanted him to understand was that feel, to really tune into that feeling
Yeah.
of that tug and that pull, because I can't decide for him or anybody else what their spiritual journey may be. And I didn't want to push him in a direction that he may or may not have wanted to go. So I wanted it to be his choice.
Yeah. Oh,
So yeah, that
I love that. I love that.
yeah,
The way you put it. I mean, when I first, came across you and you told me that the first time around, I was like, wow, that's so amazing. I love you, the fact you just shared it again. So thank you. What's come up for me with you sharing it the second time is what would you like the whole metaphor of that, yeah, right, is it's about feeling like you get that pull, you get that sort of there's a pull. It's hard to put it into human words, isn't it?
yeah,
What that sensation is. Well, what is it
yeah,
to you? How would you identify it from being because it's a fine line between um it's almost like intuition. I had this conversation with someone the other day. It's like, how do we know that our intuition is accurate? You know, that tug.
Experience,
Ah, there we go.
experience. And,
Yeah,
we're taught as children, this is a pencil. This wooden stick with lead in it is a pencil. But, my teacher used to say, is it a pencil? If I throw it down on the floor and the dog comes in and chews it, now it's a chew toy. So what is it? Is it a pencil or is it a chew toy? So, but we have experiences in life, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
those experiences start to form us into what we know and what we don't know. But
yeah,
we get feelings based on experiences that we've had in life. And that's why we have to be careful about things, because um, that's intuition, but it's also experiential.
yeah,
So it's a little bit of both. But for me, I just have a deep sense. I always have had that deep sense, really, somewhere beyond this physical realm. It's like there are no walls, there's no roof, there's no foundation of that feeling sense for me,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
But when I smell, my grandmother was alive, she used to make banana bread. And when you smell that smell, you know what it is, right?
yeah,
Like anything in life, we have our experiences, whether it's through taste, smell, hearing, sight, whatever. And those definitely shape shift our experience. And sometimes we might not like someone because it reminds us of an
yeah,
experience. So, we have to be really careful
yeah.
sometimes, because we can it's a slippery slope, but for me personally, that that tug, that pull just comes from a very deep spiritual place that I personally felt when I was in nature. So for me, that magic comes from a very natural space that I think is connected with my own inner nature. So
Yeah.
the nature that I see out there and have experienced in my life meets up someplace in some magical realm within me. And that's kind of where I go for guidance.
Love that. Yeah, for me, discernment. I think what you're
Yeah.
saying is, we need to discern, which is I'm totally with you on that. It's like for me, experience. I can only be discerning in a skillful way if I've got the experience to show me what's not right as much as what is right, and I need to have those two opposing experiences in my life. I've got my formative life, which was very unskillful. And it had a lot of consequences, but that's okay because I was learning. And now I've got this sort of like, I always call it my act one was that. It was the act one. Act two is, okay, becoming open and willing to get real about the fact that maybe I haven't got all the all the answers and maybe I am a little bit unskillful or quite a bit unskillful and I need to maybe learn other ways. That's act two is sort of going on that journey. And I feel I've been in act three for some time now, where I can then put that into play, and rewrite and act out in a skillful way, And I'm
Yeah.
always learning. I'm always learning, of course.
I think if we remain as best as we can open and receptive to the energies coming in and aware, keeping our awareness open, that's the best that we can do, really, is being open and receptive, and also keeping our own good sense of ingenuity
Mm.
and bringing that to the table without fear getting in the way. Of our creativity, because I think we're both very creative individuals and we're a little bit off the beaten path from the normalcy of general matrix,
Yeah.
but we have to, I always say to myself, like, people haven't really been sure about me. I'm a little different, but recently my dad says, well, really, you're unique. And I like that, because it took my dad my entire life for him to say I'm unique and not strange. And where did you come from anyway? You're so different than the rest of us. And so, yeah, like I said, everybody I think comes in with something special to offer. Everybody.
Yeah,
And I think if we can be more open and receptive to everybody's differences and at the same time realize how similar we all are, then we can be closer to um, better to understand one another. I myself am working on being a better listener, especially with my family and close friends. And listening is, it's really, it takes a lot of effort to be a good listener, not just listening to respond, but to really listen and pay attention. So
yeah,
that's been something I've been really working on. Um, and this is
yeah,
a dream, right? I'm just a character in your dream. You're a character in my dream. I'm a character in your dream. And this is all made up, really. And we're just doing the best we can. And you're right, it is a stage. And we're the writers, the producers, the actors, we're the lighting crew, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's all made up. And I don't know about you, but the sand in the hourglass stops for no one.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
thing is we don't know how much sand is left. So, we either, light that torch and forge forward and really sort of have courage to do that,
mm,
or we sit back and watch and,
yeah.
I like to do a little bit of both,
Yeah, yeah. That's just
you
reminded
know.
me. It's just reminded me of a story. I'm going to quickly throw this in there of when I was younger. We used to play around with the old psychedelic LSD. We was, playing around with that one, right? And I
Mhm.
remember we was around at a house and we were all taking, we were all on a trip. And one of the guys that I was with, I shouldn't be laughing because it's not funny, but um, he gave the sand and hourglass to someone and said, "When this sand runs out, your life's going to end." I mean,
Oh
that's
boy.
cruel, right? So the person was kept turning it upside down, to try and keep it going, right, for hours. We watched them do it, right? And the next day, we all did a sleepover at the house. The next day, the person um, had gone to sleep. They'd finally crashed and gone to sleep. And we found the hourglass with the sand on its side next to their bed. So that's like they finally figured out what to do with it. And then they
That's
could go to
funny.
sleep. It's mad. I just
Oh
thought
yeah.
that.
We can fixate. I've been
Oh
in
dear.
that mode of fixating on things, overthinking things, and I'm always suspicious. I'm the queen of suspicious, like I'm working through my own stuff too. So again, the experiences we have create different challenges that we have to learn to work through. But as long as we
Yeah,
remain open and receptive and curious, we never want to lose our sense of curiosity, and we never want to lose our sense of child within either.
yeah,
I
yeah.
may appear to be an adult, but really I'm just a kid on the inside, just trying to live this life the best that I can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So your work, right? So I know you, Wendy, as how would you if someone was to just meet you for the first time and they asked you what you did, what would you say to them?
I
'Cause-
probably would do that first. I don't know. I do so many things. The one
yeah,
thing that I love to do the most is connecting people, honestly.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
just seems like a natural thing for me. I've connected so many people around the world,
mm,
and you too as well. We
mm.
we have mutual connections now. But I think that's my greatest gift is being open and just I'm just a very open being, and I do like to create a space that feels safe and comfortable for people, and I'm good at that. Um, eh, my website is intuitive healing, so deep therapeutic massage and intuitive healing, and I'm good at that. But there's just so much more. I do a lot of volunteer work. I work at a farm, and I take care of animals, and I there's so many different things that I do. It's hard to really kind of put it all into one thing. But
Yeah, I mean,
if people are sincerely interested in massage, I studied Swedish massage. I've studied so many different modalities, but I've just sort of made it into my own unique style,
Oh my God, yeah. I mean,
and
yeah, I've done different modalities of massage all around the world. I've done all sorts in all different countries. I like to it's not just tattoos I get when I go to countries. I get a massage normally as well to sort of just try and what's
the
different,
first order of business, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? And so and that's what really jumped out at me with collaborating with you, and being in your space and just letting go and allowing you to do your thing, is I mean there was so much in there. I mean it was really like really deep. It was
Hmm.
really deep. I mean it was a trip. It really was.
And then you went and shared it with others, and then they all started coming in.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
I don't know. I always tell people I don't know what's going to happen. I just
Yeah,
know that I show up. I show up not just with my hands, not just with my skills, but I show up with an open heart and an
yeah,
open mind. And I show up to create a space that people can feel comfortable and safe in because people don't feel comfortable and safe. I mean, I've
yeah,
been doing this since before 1999, professionally since 1999, but I've been doing the energy healing, of course, since the 80s. But people are really worked up and they don't feel safe.
yeah,
So for an hour of time to help people feel safe and comfortable and loved, that's a real gift, and I don't take it lightly. It's a
yeah,
real gift and it's a real honor to work with people,
yeah,
and I always tell people I don't tell them anything they don't already know. I'm just reminding them of what they already know, and it's said in a different way and in a different tone, but they get
mm,
it, they feel it, and they know there's something there for some people. They understand, they just don't know why they understand. They
yeah,
get it. They just don't know why they get it. They haven't connected the dots yet. For
mm,
me, I've connected the dots and I
yeah,
continue to connect the dots. And I just hope that I can continue, you know, I'll be 60 in a few years. So I'm like, I hope that I can do this for the rest of my life, honestly, and maybe move into a little bit more of the energy healing, but I see the results. And if somebody can get out of their way and take an hour out of their schedule and meet with someone and talk with someone, enjoy a cup of tea, not on the run, if they can just sit down with someone and share a story. Sometimes people come in and just share their life stories with me.
yeah,
It isn't always about massage. It's just about making the time to be with people and to sit with people with the phones off to the side and to just share stories. I had a bit of a reading disability when I was a kid, so I could read your book, Dave, but we've talked so much about your book and the lone wolf and everything. Like for me, when someone comes in and they share a story, I remember it. As soon as
yeah,
I lay my hands on it, it's like a download. But if I read the story, it just doesn't go in the same way. It just
yeah,
doesn't hold in my brain functionality the same way. But if
yeah,
somebody sits before me and they share their story
yeah,
and they're expressive and candid, I remember it. It just sits deeper. And it's because I'm listening not just with my brain, but I'm listening with my heart. I'm listening with my whole being.
yeah. No, that makes sense.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
And I feel that in a world that's so busy with distraction, there's so much to fill our time and just detract our focus, and our attention. I feel like
Hmm.
it's really something. I'm such a big advocate for stillness, for finding that time. I have to make sure I practice what I preach and do it myself, but I'm an advocate for everyone, anyone listening, reflect how are you getting your stillness in your days, are you getting stillness? What does that look like? I'm such an advocate
Yeah.
for it, and there's what
Yeah.
better way to do it than to be with not just with someone else, but someone that really can hold that space.
And if they feel safe enough, making time to be in nature.
Mm,
And when I feel really lonely, I love to just be in nature because I never feel lonely in nature.
yeah,
When I look around at the trees, of course, on Cape Ann, we have so many beautiful walking paths near the shore, but in the woods. But I never really feel alone in nature.
yeah,
And also, one of my meditation teachers, I go to this class Wednesday nights, and he said, one full breath without a distraction is equal to like a full meditation. So if you can
Mm.
take a full breath in and fully out without your mind going sideways, without being distracted with your thoughts, with your to-do list, your honey-do list, whatever it is that's going on in your head, that's one full meditation. So I think people don't tend to go and do yoga or meditation because they're like, oh, they don't have everything all set up. They don't have an altar, or they don't have the right cushion, or they don't have this, or they don't have that, or they don't want to take the hour to go to a class. But really, meditation comes in all shapes and forms. And it's great to have a teacher, but like I've integrated all the studies of meditation, yoga, all the different spiritual studies that I've taken. I integrate that into all the laundry that I do. And I don't know if you remember the massage, but I do like scrubs and hot towels
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
mix it all
yeah.
up.
I do
And so when
remember.
I'm doing my laundry, I'm meditating and I'm praying.
Yeah.
When I'm cleaning, I'm meditating and I'm praying. When I'm getting dressed, I don't just sit down and have that time. Of course, that's wonderful and it's great when we can do that. But when we can integrate that work into everything we're doing,
Mm.
that's pretty awesome. And of course, service, the great masters of meditation and spirituality will say service work it'll be your highlight if you do
Yeah.
it with all your love and if you do it and in a compassionate way, you will feel it's almost as good as the best medicine out there when you serve others
Yeah,
lovingly and with
I
kindness.
I concur. I absolutely, that's my experience,
Yeah, for sure.
it really is, I love what you just said. You're so wise. You are such a
I'm
wise
glad
person.
this is live because I'll play it for my family.
Yes.
'Cause I
And
don't stop. I'm the one that's always running around taking pictures at my family events, and because I have quite a large family, and everybody's like, "Oh, you always got the camera in your hand." I said, "Yeah, but the next day everybody's always asking me for the pictures."
yeah, yeah.
But
I
it's
l-
important to find a practice, whatever it may be. But the important
yeah.
thing, Dave, is eh, you have to feel that tug. You have to feel that pull. Nobody
Hmm.
can do that for you.
Yeah, so when I started my journey, I got that tug, that pull. I was in someone's study. I was at their house and I was in that sort of study room, it was their mum's study room actually, in an old country house in England. And it had on one wall it had all the books. It had all the books on the wall,
Mhm.
um, on the shelves. And out of all the books, I just saw one book and it just popped out at me. It could have just, you know, jumped off the shelf and hit me on the head. It was like that. That was the pull. And
Yeah. What was it? Do you remember the book?
yeah, it was the teachings of Buddha.
Yeah.
And they caught me because I was in that room on my own and I was sort of just, that curiosity that you talk about, I'm the same, I was curious, right? So I pulled it out. It had an orange spine on it and it just popped out, not because it had an orange spine, I just saw it out of all the books. I saw that one. So I pulled it out and I had my head in it. And then the person came in and caught me with it and said, "Oh, you like that book? I studied that at uni. I did a dissertation on it, and you can have it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you." And I sort of just closed it and kept it, took it away, and and that was that. And that was a huge seed because what was in there for me really resonated. It was at a time when my mind was starting to open up to be teachable, to be receptive, to receive.
What
And
age were you, Dave?
I was 34,
Mm-hmm.
so that was nearly 17 years ago. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have a question for you about that. Do you think you just noticed that, or was there a feeling sense? If you look back
Oh,
and remember, did you just notice it, or was there something tugging and sort of pulling you in that direction? This is what I'm talking about.
yeah. I mean, I believe it's, I'd love to be able to go, yep, it was definitely a pull, but I'm having
Mhm.
to sort of really think about it.
Yeah, you don't have
But
to answer me now, but think about that.
I will. But
Mm.
I'm gonna dare to say that there was a pull because in my experience since that day, my intuition is so dialed in now. That's why I know you.
Mm-hmm.
Why we know each other because of
Yeah.
that same pull.
Mm-hmm.
You
Brother
jumped
from
out.
another mother. That's
There we
what we
go.
say here.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we say it here too. And but it's the same pull and that's been fine-tuned.
Yeah.
And the only way I can fine-tune that is by doing a lot of what you're talking about, which is, really being in a connection to my true nature of who I am, my authentic part of me. And then on a greater level, I need to practice what you're talking about. I too learn different practices and, take what you need, leave the rest. And I'm a living embodiment of the things that I picked up along the way and I practice every day
Yeah.
to the best
Well,
of my ability. I don't always get it right. Sometimes I don't do it, but
mhm.
I've got a practice in my life that works for me.
Yeah. Well, it was an interesting journey for me. I had moved back to Gloucester from Berkeley when I was 19, and
Mm,
I was doing all meditation stuff and different things out there. And I came back home, and my family was raised Catholic, and I was just leaving a restaurant that was called Two Sisters, and one of my friends says, "Oh, you know this guy, Vincent Farini?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "What do you mean you don't know him? He's a great author. He's a great guy." And I'm like, "Never met him." They said, "Of all people, I can't believe you didn't know him." So he introduced me to him, and then I went downtown to do an errand, and he was just coming across the street, and he fell because he was an older gentleman at the time. And
mm,
I jumped out of the car, and I brought him in the car. I said, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going home." So I said, "Well, I'll give you a ride home." And it turns out he lived right across the street from where my mom grew up. He knew my entire family. I never met him, but my family knew who he was, and it just so happened that there he was across from my mom's, where I spent most of my childhood, by the way. So then I'm like, well, who gives you a ride around town? How do you do all your errands? How do you get to the grocery store? He says, well, I take the bus, or I take a cab, or somebody helps me. And I said, well, I'll be that person. I'll help you.
mm,
I'd love to get to know you more. The minute I walked into his small space, which is now a writer's studio, it's called the Writer's Studio in Gloucester. Um, so many things in there were exactly what I had in Berkeley, in my space, in my small little
mm.
space. Free Tibet, different things, books that I had. I'm like, oh my God. And I could go on and on about my relationship with them, but later on, I'd bring them to the grocery stores with my kids. And then a time went by where I didn't hear from them, and I was concerned. And then I just so happened to go buy a paper, and there it was on the front page of the paper. Vincent Farini had passed. And I'm like, oh gosh.
Oh no.
So I went to the city hall. It just happened to be that day. I mean, what's the likelihood of that, right? So I go into city hall, and who's at the top of the stairs like pillars, but two of my most favorite teachers I've ever had in my life, Phil Salzman and Jim Scholes. They were my Project Adventure. It was a program we had on KPN called Project Adventure, Outward Bound, that kind of stuff. And they were standing right there. And I know Vincent set that up for me. and
Yes.
and then Phil ended up becoming my Buddhist teacher. We met again and had coffee, and she had some stories, and
Mm,
boom, that's what started me on that lineage for 9 years, pretty much studying
yeah.
Tibetan Buddhism,
Mm,
and then getting sort of reconnected in with my community. So I still go to church. I still do the things that I did when I was growing up, but I have this beautiful community of Buddhists around me as well, which
yeah.
is also fun. And yeah, when you connect with people and you talk about things and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Or, oh, I had those feelings too. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, thank God I'm not alone.
exactly that.
No, I'm
That's
not so crazy after all, you know?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. You're with your people. I mean, look, thank you for sharing that. That's a really beautiful thing. It's synchronicity, isn't it? You
yeah,
know, it's
exactly.
synchronicity. And I
And
just
hadn't I done that service work, that wouldn't have,
yeah,
this is what I'm saying. When you go out of your own way to help others,
yeah.
sometimes the divine just sort of
Hmm.
guides you, and it's not like you know about it. You're not even, you're in the work, but your work is helping others.
Yeah,
You're helping yourself through helping others, but then everything just, like you said, the synchronicity of it just all aligns,
it
and
does.
before you know it, your life starts to unfold and bloom. And one of the things that I like to say to my clients when they come in, when their bodies are aching, it's like watching like a beautiful rose bush, right? As it starts to grow. By the way, the seeds in the dirt, right? In the darkness, and it has to make its way up through the earth. And alas, it meets with the sun and it starts to grow, and the petals start to unfold. And as the petals start to unfold with the warmth, on the surface of the leaves, the the flower starts to unfold, and all that dew, all that stuff that's been weighing the flower down starts to drip out and then starts to nourish the earth. And it's like this sort of relationship. The same with the body. We have stiff muscles, still stiff joints, and all this inner tension pattern and all this inner stress and pressure. And when we learn to unfold, and we have massages or whatever, people like to exercise, they do yoga, meditation, whatever gets you to that point where you can start to unfold and bloom and release that inner stuff and let it drip out of you, then it just helps us to grow and
Mm,
continue that growth.
yeah, I love that. I love
So,
that. It's so
yeah.
important. I'm really glad I knew we'd just go where the conversation needs to go, and we're hitting all the points, man. All the little signposts along the way that I needed for my path, is I needed like-minded people. I needed to be teachable. I need to find um, a different script to act out my life with because I had the evidence, and at what point do I realize that the evidence before me is accurate, that I need to change direction. I need to go on a different path. And you know
Well,
my
the
bet
lone wolf needs to be brave. I mean,
yeah.
a wolf is a powerful animal spirit. Right now we're in the year of the horse. We ended the year of the snake last year, according to the Chinese, you know, every year they have a different animal spirit, and this year is the horse. But the wolf is a powerful animal spirit, and I encourage everybody to, read up on that. They're a
Yeah,
pack animal, but they also utilize that alone time to
yeah.
help strengthen their pack, and help strengthen within.
Yeah, because the title of my, it's not I've obviously got them on tattooed on my hands, Lone Wolf, and I know what it means to me. It's just the spirit for which I live my life, and I really identified to it. I don't know, I can't really say why I got it tattooed on my knuckles. I just did. But
Yeah.
it served well. It was again a synchronicity, I guess, because it's now the title of, a publication and part of this podcast. And it's just a persona. Maybe you could call it branding or an identity that I choose to use, which isn't who I am, obviously. Even my name, Dave, is not who I am. It's just uh, something that has been put on
Someone
me.
named you Dave.
Exactly. I'm far greater than a name or an identity or who I think I am or who I think I'm not. But in essence, I really connected to what it means to be a lone wolf. And especially in the modern world that we live in, I
Hmm.
know so many people who go, yeah, I really identify with that.
Hmm.
I feel like, do you think we are living in a time right now where we do feel like I'm a lone wolf, but I'm not a lonely wolf. You know,
Mhm.
I have my pack, right? And I really value my alone time. Like I like being with myself, you know. But I also love connecting to people. And I've learned how to do that, you know, through what I think a lot of what we've discussed. Um, I really value it, which is a beautiful thing. It's a blessing, not a curse. It used to be a curse to be with myself. Do you think, I don't know, the world that we live in is, I don't want to get into a political one with this, but
Mhm.
do you think the current climate of the world we live in, do you think it's really easy to identify as being a lone wolf right now?
Well, it's definitely a different world than I grew up in, but everything, as you know, just like the rose bush, everything changes. Nothing ever stays the same, Dave.
Mm,
Ever. Nothing ever stays the same. And for anybody who isn't interested in growth and development, it's going to be a difficult it's going to be a difficult time for them. If they want everything to just stay the same way all the time, it's just unreasonable. It's not going to happen. Everything changes. And sometimes it changes for the good. Sometimes it changes in a way that makes us all feel super uncomfortable and at the edge of our seat. But the reality is everything changes all the time. And I have some family members that are really out there with their fists up, really fighting for what they believe in, and I encourage them to do that. But I also feel like the work that I'm doing is reaching the world in a different intentional way. It's reaching the shores that are struggling. It's reaching the mountains that, are on fire or whatever. And the best that we can do is work. Charity starts at home. First of all, we have to do the work at home.
yeah.
And sometimes that work is spending time alone and assessing this body, this house right here. Because everything we're seeing out there is there's something also going on inside and the different experiences we had, which is creating that realm out there in some way and form. But I think we all need to be on our toes, all hands on deck for sure. Coming from a fishing family, we had this saying growing up, the masters of the seas didn't become masters because the seas were calm. Hell no. They became masters because of all the storms they endured. So, and there is quite a storm a brewing.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. And we have to get our tools out and we have to continue to sharpen our swords and we have to keep sharpening our tools and doing the best we can to maintain our lives and to continue to bring positivity into the world. I'm not going to argue with my neighbor about politics. I'm going to listen and I'm going to be uh, I'm just going to hear what they have to say. We may agree or disagree on who we're in alignment with. But the reality is if we want to fight, then that's what our realm's going to be. It's all going to be fists
mm,
up, and it's not going to say love across the knuckles. To me, I try to encourage my kids to always do the best that they can, to always try if there's negativity in their realms, to try to just um, listen, but also try to shape shift the conversation into bringing more positivity into it.
yeah.
Because, I mean, I wear my Jesus life jacket all the time. I got to put my Jesus life jacket on because I feel like at any given moment, another wave's going to come and knock me over. So
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
got, I got all my buddies. I got Buddha, I got Amma, the hugging saint. I've got, Mother Mary. I've got all my sisters. I've got an incredible, loving family. So I bring all those tools in, and trust me, in the circumference of our own families, we have our differences. But
Mm,
we just have to, and again, I'm repeating what I said before, is we just have to be better listeners and
yeah,
try to contribute it in a positive and meaningful way. Because if we're just out there fighting, I
yeah.
mean, in causing havoc, I don't see how that's. I don't see how that's going to help in the long run. I do believe in standing up for what you believe. And, for some people, they have to be out on the rotaries and campaigning and all of that. But for me, I I really try to put all my love and energy into the work that I do. I try to get out there and volunteer for different organizations. I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes without people knowing, and that's what keeps me afloat.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me afloat. But yeah, there's a huge storm brewing, and we have to
Mm,
be good sailors. But you can't
yeah.
be a good sailor if you have no experience. So you
Wow.
can't
Yeah.
just stay in your home with the door locked and the shades down, and this is your little island, and say, "Oh, I'm going to shut everything off and not pay attention." I think it's really important that we connect and share stories and come together and
Yeah.
listen to each other. There's always going to be someone you disagree with. There's always going to be someone that has a different opinion. And we don't know what's in the world today with the news. I mean, you watch the news, but there's 20 other newses going on the same screen. You've got the news going across the bottom. You've got the news on the side. You got another news forecast going across the top. I mean,
I think that
it's
is
hard
Wendy.
it's like
Yeah.
so distracting.
That's
And I've got
definitely,
my phone, but they're
yeah.
telling you, oh, we've got the new better one. You got to
Yeah.
have the next best thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Use your tools wisely and try
Yeah.
to stay on the up and up and try to stay more positive. History repeats
Yeah.
itself, but we can also be creators of new realms by offering the best we can and staying creative and staying open and receptive and never losing our curiosity. It's
Mm,
important,
yeah.
to not get so caught up in it all. And it's important to maintain our sense of responsibility to ourselves, to our families, to our communities. It we are all one. We're not separate. We're all one. We are one big planet, and we need to forge together and help one another. But
Yeah.
there is a method to that,
Yeah.
and every government has their own method.
Yeah, yeah. What you're just sharing there, there's so much in there that I was like, yeah, but like there's so much in what you just said. Thank you for sharing all of that. Definitely, I think a lot of what you're sharing there with the climate, to me it just feels, we was talking about vibration and frequency, right? So what you just shared there really feels like a challenging vibration to have to navigate for, I'm one that um I feel blessed because I've got the tools like you said you've got all these different life jackets that you can put on. I love what you said there. And we've got to ask ourselves, people, listening, anyone listening, what life jacket, metaphorically speaking, have we got, in our lives to navigate these turbulent waters, man? I love what you put there about
Mhm.
people that are out on the boats. They don't become masters just by it being calm. It's how you master something is through adversity. But
Mhm.
what have we got? What are our tools to do that? So I feel quite blessed because, you know, I've had to put the boots on. I've had to roll my sleeves up and get my hands dirty, metaphorically speaking. I've had to dig deep to do some work to have the tools that I've got. And I'm not on
And
my
it's a
own.
lifetime. It's a lifetime. It isn't a weekend retreat. It
Yeah.
isn't one class. It's a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
It's gonna go on forever and ever. Every
So
layer.
yeah, so I think what you touched on, I feel like there's something in that. You said it's like, we shouldn't be just closing the doors and, battening down the hatches and shutting the blinds and just hiding away. We need to, connect but I think that a response to the overwhelm and the angst, of what the news and adverts and the narrative, what's projected on us, it's really easy to have that adverse reaction and just sort of want to hide under the duvet, and not come out.
Comfortable under the duvet, for sure.
Yeah,
But
you know,
it's also exciting being out there surfing the waves of life. And,
Yeah.
we do have to stand up for what we believe, but we also have to stay grounded,
It,
and we
it,
have to get on with life, and we need
yeah.
to eat, we need to sleep, we need to maintain our homes or whatever. And it's really, really difficult for a lot of people out there.
It
And there's a
is.
lot of people that don't have an address to do any of that. And they've got mental illnesses and addictions. As you know, in the past, we've talked about all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And we need to be compassionate about those things and not
Yeah.
just, you know, yeah, everybody wants to have a sign in their front yard, but nobody wants what that sign means in their backyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so we have to be really conscientious about what we're supporting, what we're doing, and really mean it, and not just sort of be hiding behind a facade. We
Yeah.
have to really mean what we're involved in,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
try to make a positive, try to make, you know, positive strides. And the thing is we can make a difference. Each and every one of us can make a difference, and it might be small, but that little thing has rippling effects on it,
Mm,
right? That little
mm,
thing.
yeah. And it
So
starts it starts with us, right? You said it earlier.
yeah,
Like for me, I always say this, it's like revolution of the heart. You said about, it's not about going out and, you know, activism, is that the right word? That's something that, to be an activist, there's a lot of people doing that, and there's a place for that. We need to have a voice. We need to be seen and heard, and to make change. A lot of positive change comes from that.
yes,
But there's more. What are we doing? It starts with us. What can I do to be the best version of myself? So I am a big advocate for revolution of the heart. I need to
yeah,
I need to transform my heart place. Where's my heart at? Where's my head at?
yeah.
You know,
That's
and
your
it,
that's your next book, Dave. The Revolution of the Heart.
I think there might already be a book called that. But yeah, I'm a massive advocate for it, because it starts with me. I can't be of service to f my fellow Earthlings or society, or, just one other person. I can't be. How can I help someone if I'm not giving that? I need to help myself first. And it sounds selfish, but I need to learn how to be the best version of myself. Once I've got that on track, don't have to be perfect, but I need to get my house in order. Once I'm there and I'm on that path, then I can outwardly be of service to
Yeah.
others in
Yep.
a greater
And
way.
I'm working on that big time. My entire
Mm,
family's like, Wendy, you got to help yourself. You're always helping everybody. We're concerned about you. So we definitely,
mm,
that's something everybody needs to do, is to a little bit of better time management. We definitely need to carve time out to exercise, to eat right, not just eating on the go, whatever. I mean, it's great to be in service to the world, but service starts at home. and
definitely.
and we can't be, if we look down in our well and we see the stones, if there's nothing to give and we're giving from that place of nothing,
Yeah,
that's a disservice to everybody. That's not serving the world, that's not serving us. That's something else that's going on that needs to be addressed. And I've been at that place, and I am
yeah.
working through that, because I have seen the stones at the bottom of the well, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh boy, I really got to address this, and take care of myself as well. I don't want my kids to be concerned, and my loved
Yeah,
ones in my life.
yeah,
It's easier to take care of others. It's more difficult and challenging to take care of the people under your own roof. It just seems that way always. But I always think when I'm working on people in my practice, gosh, I wish I could do this for my siblings, or, for the
mm,
people that just mean so much to me. But the reality is I love everybody. I mean, I
yeah,
love my family, and I love my kids. They're my three precious jewels. And I love all my sisters, but I sincerely do love everyone. And even the people that I see that aren't doing so good in the world, that, a lot of people don't like these days.
mm,
they were babies once too, and I don't know where they went sideways. I don't know what happened. I've heard a little bit of what happened, but there's an aspect of me that loves them too. I wonder, I'm like, one of my teachers taught us the meditation of equanimity, where you
Hmm.
take three people, one that you really love, one that you don't like at all. I don't want to use the H word, but I'll say it, that hate, and one that you're very neutral about.
Mm.
And you focus on one, and then you start mixing them up until at some point everybody's neutral. There's not, I love this one, I hate this one, and this one's neutral. Everybody is sort of on that same plane of oneness. And it's really an incredible exercise. I encourage everybody to try it. Um, it's hard because we're biased, you
Yeah,
know.
there's judgment. There's going to be judgment there.
Yeah.
It's non-judgment. What you just
It's
described.
hard not to judge it.
Yeah,
We have to
yeah,
be impeccable with our words, with our thoughts, with our actions, but we are human.
yeah, yeah.
We're just going about life too. And then sometimes, we get up on that surfboard and we're surfing a really good wave and we wipe out and, we go through it all and we got our face in the sand and the sand in all the places we don't want the sand to be in, and we just have to stand right back up and wipe ourselves off and just start over and apologize and do whatever we need to do to make it right. And it's not about really what's right, because what's right and wrong is different for everybody.
Yeah,
But we have to do with what's real in that moment, what that, again, back to that feeling sense, and
yeah,
there's a right and wrong for everybody, but we know more about what feels appropriate in any one given situation. But
yeah.
yeah, politics is tough. The world's challenging, but I assure you, Dave, and I think you'll agree with me and your listeners will agree. I bet you if we were measuring all the good things going on in the world and all the things that aren't so good going on in the world, I bet you all the good things would far outweigh than all the bad things, because it's only the bad things that make the news.
Exactly,
It's
exactly
only the
that.
bad things
Definitely.
that are, those are the
Yes.
high low, those are on the red carpet, as Nuna would say. You got that red carpet, and you get all the fashion designers and everything. Well, all the drama hits the news, and that's what sells, and it's crazy. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of really good positive news out there too, and I encourage everybody, all your listeners, if you don't hear about it, make it yourself. Make the positive news yourself and get it out there in the world, because I am a firm believer that that list is far longer than the list of,
Oh, I
than the list
I
that's not so great.
I agree, man. I've always thought it's like yin yang, right? So it's like light, dark, night, day, good versus evil, all that kind of stuff. It's just the balance. It's that, you mentioned equanimity, but it's like balance. It's just we need that.
Yeah.
There's a natural order of all things, and I believe I'm a big believer that there is this yin yang, right? My evidence in my life shows me, that's my experience anyway. That's the way I see it. There's a yin yang to everything. So I really like what you've just said. I think that's a good place to actually end it, actually, because it's on a very positive note. And I really like what you just shared there, because I've always seen it as just a clear cut 50-50 of yin and yang. But I suspect it is more like an 80-20 in the favor of goodness. Because of what you
Well,
said, the news,
yeah.
because of technology, it seems like it's saturated. I'm not subscribed to the news. I don't watch it. I haven't got social media, so I have no exposure to the 80% of all the misery that they peddle. And so I'm not only receiving 20% of good stuff. It's the other way around for me. It really is. I feel like it quite possibly is 80%. I'm using 80%. It's just a number I've pulled out of the air. I think it's a large proportion of really goodness that's out there, but we only hear, like you say, about all the shit.
There's always going to be a Madame Defarge in the crowd, knitting in the names of or in the
Yeah.
chicken run, there was that little chicken that was knitting everybody's names that was going off to the
Uh,
to the chicken pie factory. But I have in my family, I have new babies coming in, right?
Hey.
I'll have as of April, the sixth great niece and nephew. And I have an
Oh,
elder that's at his last season of his life. So I just would like to say to your listeners and to you as we continue this relationship that Thich Nhat Hanh had this saying, and I probably won't get it right, but birth and death and birth and death of anything. How about just waking up and going to bed, the sun rising and the sun setting? Birth and death, they're just sacred gateways that we come and go from, right? They're sacred doorways. And birth and death doesn't even really exist. There's a continuum of life, if you
mm,
will. And we suffer because we're attached to everything in between.
yeah,
So if we can learn to sort of let go of some of those attachments and still love, surrender, but still love genuinely, and try to come together in love instead of, picking a side.
mm,
It's hard not to pick sides. It's
yeah,
hard not to say, I love you more than you. I
yeah,
choose this instead of that. I like daytime better than night. It's hard to not pick sides. It really is. But if you can choose hope and if you can choose love
mm,
and grace and kindness, those are the teams I want to be on, you
yeah,
know?
same.
And yeah, so anyway, it's always so great to chat with you, Dave, connect.
You was getting really into a moment in your own space then. I could see it.
Yeah.
No one could see what I could see, but you was really getting you was connecting to what you were saying in a deep way because it had a lot of truth
Yeah.
in it. And I just want to say the equanimity thing, the meditation method, I feel that that is really in line with what you just said. It's just not having judgment, to have unconditional love and acceptance for what is, whatever that may be, good or bad. It's like just don't get involved with it. Just come from a good place. And we have to
As
learn
best
that.
we can, as best we can.
Yeah.
And we're all in it together. There isn't anybody people seem to have like perfect lives, but I assure you, I work on every, I work on babies all the way up to the elderly, rich, poor, everybody in between. And when they're naked on the table, they're a human being going through the same stuff that you're going through. We're
Yeah.
all going through it. So, we need to be of support to one another,
Yeah.
and the best we can, because we're all going through it. We're all going through something,
There we
you
go.
know?
So look, anyone
Yeah.
listening, give yourself a hug. And give your neighbor a hug, even if you don't like them. You
Yeah.
know
Right
what I
on,
mean?
brother.
All
Yeah.
right, Wendy, let's close it off. I've really enjoyed this conversation, all of it. I just really enjoyed listening to you and reconnecting in this way that we've just captured. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and good luck, and just keep on keeping on, Dave.
Keep on trucking. I will,
Yeah.
and yourself.
Oh.
Oh, 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 oh. I'll speak to you soon. Take it easy.
Okay. All righty. Take
Right.
good care.
Bye
May
bye.
love and peace prevail around the world.
Oh, beautiful. See you later.